Hello YouTube, this is ZeroPress667, and we are finally back to doing more Draft League again. Wi-Fi scene at least. So it has been quite a while since I've done a upload required league. I have recently done another Wi-Fi league, but it was more for fun with a few friends back from college. So this is going to be actual like upload required, a little bit more, I guess would say try hard. And so it's not going to go well is what I'm hearing. But either way, I'm happy to be back. I've taken a break where I've uploaded some LC tier lists. I've kind of like ran into like a pitfall with like doing Gen 4, as like every single time I've tried recording it, something has gone wrong with the recording. So I've kind of just taken a break from that because I'm getting annoyed with it. So I think I will definitely get back to it. I'll probably get back to it. Like I want to at least complete the series before Generation 10 is out. And so I'll get back to it definitely like within the next coming weeks or so. So like do look out for that. As you saw, like my complete like rash upload of a bunch of me doing a Nuzlock. So that was, I apologize, that definitely tanked my channel, that's for certain, but hopefully I could get back to like building it again. But that was for those who like actually wanted to sit through and watch that. One, why? Two, I'm sorry. That was just like for proof of concept of me like doing the Nuzlocke correctly and making it, because I just wanted to get my name on the Hall of Fame for Emerald Imperium. Shout out to Emerald Imperium, definitely I think one of the most fun Nuzlocks I've ever done, by far. Really well made game. It's like it takes Radical Red and puts it into Emerald, which one, I'm a big fan of Emerald in general, so I was really excited about that, and so really enjoyed the game. I know the developer of the game himself, he's quite busy, and I think like this game definitely like stresses him out. So I just wanted, like, I don't know if there's going to be an update for a while for in regards to the new megas coming out within Legends ZA. So if there is, that's great. If not, that's okay. I still really enjoyed the game, so yeah. Enough with that update. You're not here for that. You're here for draft. So this is Draft Jam. It's the first season. Season ran by league ran by good friends Keegan and Kaz. Now, Keegan has discussed in his release video that he has done a similar concept with banning a bunch of the top mons in like a showdown league, but now he wants to do it for Wi-Fi, which I think is really cool. I did start hating Gen 9 in general to the point where I have like stopped completely in participating in a bunch of like both like Gen 9 tours ran by Smogon, as well as like Gen 9 like battles in general, because I just hate the meta is all. Like I've gotten really annoyed with like the top threats, and top threat Terras is just so annoying to prep for that it's just I don't have fun with it. So I've gone back and started like, you know, playing older gens. Like I've done a few Gen 6, a couple Gen 7 again, some Gen 3, though to be fair, I am also getting tired of Gen 3 in general just because of how cheesy the format has become, even though the format's always been cheesy. But like this has been built up as it's going to be a kind of like a hope to get back to like Gen 6 style of power creep. Gen 9 has been really big on power creep. As previous generations since Gen 6 has been pretty bad on power creep. I'd say previous generations since Gen 5 has been bad on power creep. Every single generation it just power creeps it more and more, leaving a lot of like the older gen Pokemon behind. So what Keegan has set out to do is he's banned a lot of the top mons, a lot of the top Terra threats, to just make it feel more like Gen 6 like. in a way. So I don't know how well he's done it. It's just up to like finding out as we go through the season. But with all that said and done, we have 14 coaches. The draft is one single draft, 14 players all in one single draft. It's not any of those like 8-man drafts type of styles. So with the added caveat of banning a lot of top mons, it makes drafting, especially like in the middle to later positions, kind of rough. I would say like later positions isn't that bad because you still have like back wheel, and that's nice to like build a good coherent team. Middle positions you're kind of screwed because one, you lose out on all the power creep that Gen 9 has introduced, and two, you still have a middle draft position, so you're kind of struggling to build like a coherent plan when it can easily be sniped and taken apart by literally anyone before or after you. So all that being said and done, I got pick number 7, which is literally dead in the middle. I'd say probably one of, if not the worst positions to be in a draft, especially for this type of tier list that was set up by Kiki has, to where there aren't as many like top threats that I can gladly take in pick 7. So I'm kind of just like in the rough here. But all that said and done, our first pick ends up being Roaring Moon. Now, I have had previous success using Roaring Moon, and so I wanted to use it again. It has had kind of like a resurgence in Scarlet and Violet draft from what I've seen. It's like it had like a good solid period where it was roaring mid again, and like in like the middle of it. But I think recently it's kind of had a resurgence as like a number 2 on a lot of teams. So, but since we banned most of the number 1s, Roaring Moon is now the number 1 again. But the thing is, with the power creep, it's now like a huge threat. A lot of the bigger threats to it, like Iron Valiant and Meowscarada, are gone. So it's now a huge threat. A lot of its biggest checks are kind of just missing. So it's definitely able to just like blow through a lot of teams now. It's rather fast with 119 base speed. Great attack. You can run choice. You can run banded sets. You can run scarf sets. You can run its booster energy sets. Like, there are so many things you can do with this Pokemon. It has acrobatics if you want to run booster energy, or like, resist berry like Chople. I don't know how much I would really want to run the Fairy Resist Berry. I don't know how much I would run Roselli Berry, because it's quad weak to Fairy, so it's still going to take a bunch of damage, if not outright get KO'd by a Fairy move. Even though its special defense and HP is like, it has really good like special defense and HP stats, really good. Its defense kind of mid, but good HP stat can help that. So like, I think overall in like Dragon Dance sets, like, is a solid first round draft pick. And just overall, I'm a big fan of Roaring Moon, always has been, so I'm very happy to, like, even with like my terrible draft position, to get this mon. So yeah. Next we have Jirachi. Once again, I think Steel Psychic is just such a good typing overall, and it is a great enabler for Roaring Moon. It is able to like take on almost all the fairies in the tier rather well. It can be run bulky, you can run Healing Wish, like you can use Roaring Moon as both a breaker and a late game sweeper, with the Jirachi being able to Healing Wish it up back to full. It has it's the base 100 across the board mythical Pokemon that just has, which makes it so annoying to prep for because it can do so many different things. It's like Mew Light, but I don't like using Mew, so it's better Mew in my opinion. But it has great access to both special and physical movesets. It can be the annoying Serene Gray spamming Iron Head type of Pokemon that just flinch everything down. I've used this the kind of recently. I don't know how recently. I think it'd be over a year now by this point, but I recently, in my eyes, in the ghosting tour on Smogon, and it was just so fun to just like get out of like awkward scenarios with just spamming Iron Head with Jirachi. So it's I'm a huge fan of being able to do that. Has access to like screens. It can stealth rock up. It U-turn, Thunder Wave, Trick Room. So many different things this Pokemon's able to do. So, so happy to have it. It is a great enabler for Roaring Moon as well as like other picks down the line. So, and next up we have our first Terra Captain, which will be Thundurus Therian. So early on in the meta, especially like Wi-Fi draft, Thundurus T was like viewed as like a very strong Terra pick. It's kind of like slowly, or I'd say like quickly falling from grace as a Terra pick, because there's just been so many better options outside of like Thundurus Therian, so it has definitely fallen off since then, but it's still a huge threat, especially with like Electric and then being Terra Ice. You have Bolt Beam coverage. And like it's still like massive special attack stat, good ability in Volt Absorb, so you can just take on Volt switches. It forms a pretty good Volt Turn core with Jirachi as well. And it has access to both Agility, Nasty Plot, and then being a Terra Pokemon, especially in this type of format where a lot of the top Terras are banned, is like extremely helpful, as it is able to just tear through most teams that otherwise like it wasn't able to beforehand with all the like the top tier checks. So that helps it as well. Wild Bolt Storm, I've never used it, but that could be a funny move to click if I want. I think Thunderbolt is just better overall, but you know, seeing that just makes me laugh. But otherwise, yeah, it's kind of like, I would almost say like 1 to 2 dimensional. It'd be like a Choice Scarf set or like a setup set, and there's not really much in between for it. But I feel like you can also like do some fun things with it as well. I mean, it's Wi-Fi draft. There's like tons of things. You just like figure out as you go, you know. So yeah, that next pick was Thundi T, and that is my first Terra Captain. I am able to have up to 3 Terra Captains with like 25-point budget. I believe Thundi T was like 14 points as a Terra Captain, so that does like give me some leeway as like other good Terra picks down the line. Next we have old reliable, our fairy, Clefable. At this point in the draft, I was like, okay, I have a strong steel, I have a strong dragon, might as well just get, you know, fairy, dragon, steel, to get the good old reliable Gen 6 core. And like a lot of like there weren't as many like good top fairies since Iron Valiant was banned. And then like a lot of like good like Terra Fairy Pokemon were also banned, like so a Hydrapple, you can't Terra Hydrapple, so you can't just run Terra Fairy Hydrapple. So it's like, you know what? Let's get a good fairy before like a lot of like the better fairies start falling off the board. And especially like the issue of like I didn't want to double up on my Psychic type so early. And like all the other good fairy types like Hatterene, Gardevoir are all like half fairy type, half psychic type, so I didn't want to like, okay, I didn't want to like add to like my ghost or knockoff weakness by adding those. So I wanted a solid fairy type that can take those on. I could take on like the dark types rather well, and like Clefable overall, with the 2 good abilities in Magic Guard and Unaware, is just so solid in taking on a lot of like the threats in the metagame, especially like setup threats, or like its bulk. It might look weird, might look bad, but it's actually a lot more bulkier than what this says. And it's the magic of Clefable. That's how I can explain it, is like its stats look middling, but it's so good for some odd reason. So you can run so many like fun sets. It has like the Gen 1 moveset of like give it everything, because why not? You run you can run Bolt Beam, you can run Moonblast, you can run Calm Mind, you can run Cosmic Power, you can... Does this still have access to Cosmic Power actually? Yeah, it does. Okay. I had to double check. I was like, I'm pretty sure it does. Alluring Voice, even if you like want to take on anything that might want to set up versus Clefable, but then again, why would you? Because you're risking unaware. And the beauty of heavy duty boots is that you can kind of like fake magic guard and instead be unaware. Unfortunately, that does not work against sticky webs because sticky webs still proc for some reason versus magic guard. But other than that, it works very well versus a lot of the other stuff to like, they don't know. I mean, same thing with toxic spikes. It will still proc versus magic guard, but it won't like, you know, damage it sort of thing. So overall, great mon, great like defensive, starting like defensive backbone, and you can add it with Jirachi as like a defensive backbone, but it's like, I would say like kind of like the start of a defensive backbone here with Clefable. Next up we have Quillfish. So at this point I was like, okay, I want a bulky water now. I think if anything that holds true throughout draft is that you want a bulky water of some sort. Like, in like my opinion, like it's not exactly necessary, I would say, but it's kind of like a pretty big like point of like making battles a lot easier is just having a good bulky water. I have the choice between Swampert and Quillfish. At this point, it's like, okay, these are the two bulky waters I would want. I was like, wait, Quillfish is also a poison type that can set up spikes and T-spikes, and I've noticed that like there aren't that many good spinners. Once we got rid of like all the top ones, like I think Iron Treads was like the best spinner, and then it's just like a huge drop off after that, to the point where like people were taking Serena in round 3 or 4, and this is like, okay, so we're having people going like that low for a spinner that early. I mean, to be honest, I would have also taken Serena, but I was going to take Serena later on. Serena was like part of the initial plan. Since I'm a huge Serena fan overall, I think it's a solid spinner, and just its physical moveset is rather huge to like not really much anything wants to switch in versus it. But I was like, okay, well I can't get Serena now, but I was like, as I was like watching it, it's like, okay, there aren't that many good spinners, which means I can hazard stack. So I wanted to get like a really good hazard stacker, and I was like, Quillfish is probably one of the best hazard stackers because of both spikes and T-spikes, and the access to Intimidate as well, just to like to be like a very like big nuisance to like a lot of like the physical threats in this tier in draft in general, because like solid good defensive typing of water poison and access to Intimidate on top of that, and then you can run stuff like Bar Barrage to take even more advantage of the toxic spikes you set up. It has access to Flip Turn. You can Destiny Bond to like get a cheeky KO if you're like facing like a slow bruiser. You can even go boom, I believe so. Yeah, like with self-destruct. Did it lose self-destruct? Don't tell me it lost self-destruct. No, it still has access to self-destruct. Okay. It doesn't have access to explosion, but it never did. You can still go boom with self-destruct. Then like spikes, T-spikes, taunt, even Thunder Wave. It has access to Thunder Wave for some reason. Throat Chop if you're facing annoying like Hyper Voice spam or whatever from like a Sylveon or some sort. At the same time, I don't know why I would stay in, why the Sylveon would stay in the first place, but Haze to stop setup sweepers. Like once again, this like it helps form the defensive backbone that I like always want on my draft teams with Clefable and Jirachi. So he do be fun like that, and also gives me like a good bulky water. And speaking of like good bulky waters, our next pick is actually Rotom Wash. So at this point, it was like when I started to realize like, wait, we have a lot more points that with the big thing of like we're banning a lot of top tier threats. In doing that, you kind of, I think like my biggest issue, I believe, with the league thus far was that I don't think the points were adjusted well enough, like the available points was adjusted well enough to go with like the fact that we're banning a lot of the top tier threats, like a lot of bans, but we keep the same amount of points. So I think that's what's that led to is that a lot of teams, I think almost every team except like 2 or 3, have a lot of points left over. And I'm talking about like a good amount, like 10 plus points left over. And so I think that's like my biggest issue with that is that just like the draft board point wise was not like the points weren't adjusted to make up for the fact that we have a lot less big threats. So to put it into perspective, every single Pokemon from the 17 tier all the way down to the 10 tier was taken. And so that like it leaves a lot of points on the board like people have left over, including me. Spoiler alert, I ended up with like 15 points left over by the end of this draft. It's like an Amels type of draft. Speaking of which, Amel actually has 17 points left over, so he still had more than me left over. But back to like, and this around this point, it's like realize like, oh wait, I have so much point. I will have so many points left over. I need to start taking from the like higher tiers again. It's like, let me take a Pokemon that I wasn't even thinking about taking because it was so expensive in Rotom Wash. Now, Rotom Wash is like, it's the same, it's like very similar to Quillfish as in like being a bulky water. The biggest thing with Rotom Wash is Rotom Wash plus Quillfish share absolutely no weaknesses together because of the beauty of water electric versus water poison. So Quillfish, water poison, being weak to electric, and Rotom being weak to grass. So with Levitate as well, I'm not weak to ground, unlike Quillfish, and there's no 1,000 arrows spamming Zygarde to make me weak to ground. And like stuff would make me weak, like Gravity or whatever, is not really used that much. I mean, I can still see it. I've spammed Gravity a lot with Landorus because I just think it's a funny set that like is able to beat so many players that don't feel like drafting a good ground resist outside of like a ground immunity. And so if you're just running Gravity, you can kind of just like cheese those ground immunities and spam Earthquake with Landorus, which I always found funny. But with all that said, I do have a Rotom Wash here. It's moveset kind of limited, but it can still run screens. It can run Hydro Pump, Discharge, Thunderbolt, Foul Play, T-Wave, Will-O-Wisp, Volt Switch, of course. My team is very pivot heavy, as in like every single one of my Pokemon except Clefable can pivot, and according to Chimpact, Healing Wish is a pivot move, so every single one of my Pokemon can pivot. Technically, so we're doing great. Actually, does Clefable even have access to Healing Wish? Did I say that out loud? Yeah, it does. Okay. Had to make sure. But yeah, so a very pivot heavy team. I am a Draft League player, of course, and I'm just like, once again, I do love me some Rotom Wash. I've loved Rotom Wash ever since I first got into Draft League, all the way back in like the X and Y era. So like 2014, 2015, that time period, I would always like draft Rotom Wash because it was, I don't know, it was just like, it was like a Pokemon I drafted, it had a lot of success with back then. I've just spammed Rotoms ever since. So big fan once again. Its only water move being Hydro Pump, kind of annoying, but outside that, just a really good solid defensive piece. Okay, so we've had this like our little run of defensive Pokemon for a while, so I was like, okay, let me get a good offensive Pokemon as that will work as like a physical breaker. So I took Mamoswine. I am a big fan of Mamoswine, always has been. Ice plus Ground is such an amazing offensive typing that not many Pokemon are able to switch in versus Mamoswine. It's gotten access to Trailblaze now, so it could actually like boost its speed without having to run Choice Scarf. It can still run Choice Scarf, of course. It can run Life Orb, Choice Band, like a Weakness Berry. Access to Thick Fat is helpful for like Sun or Ice. Oblivious if I don't want to be intimidated, of course. And then like Heavy Slam, High Horsepower for like versus grassy terrain teams. Earthquake, Icicle Crash, Iron Head. It's just so many like really hard-hitting moves that just help as a physical breaker. Solid HP stat to where, like, if you're not hitting me super effectively, I can easily live a hit and then just hit back really hard. So kind of what like Mammothswine's here for, just hit really hard. Break things for teams, and like especially for like the Roaring Moon in the back. For Dundee T or like whatever, just like to sweep. It's just here as like a breaker to like help my team get the momentum it needs. And now this is the first Pokemon that does not have Pivot Move. Alright, next we have our second Terra Captain. We're like getting towards the end of the draft. It's like this time, at this point, it's like I just wanted to shore up any like my weaknesses, and I started to notice like I don't really handle ground types that well. Like I have Rhythm Wash, but once again, I don't like having my ground resist being a ground immunity, just because of like how like people can like click gravity or whatever, and then next thing I notice I'm weak to ground with Rhythm Wash. So I was like, okay, let me get like something that can always resist ground. So I picked up Shaman. I was like, wait, I love Shaman as like, I think Shaman's a great like secondary Terra Captain. It has access to Sword Stance and like the mythical bait stats of 100 across the board, so you can run like both physical, you can run special. It has one of the most broken moves in the game with Seed Flare, as just like you can like lower someone's special defense by 2 every single time you click it practically, and then you can hit it hard with like, you know, another Seed Flare or like Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash, Earth Power. Like a special moveset is nothing like to scoff at practically. I mean, that's about it. But and then you can run Terra, and then you can have more special moves with Terra Blast to choose from. Once again, like I think like Terra helps its physical set a lot more just because of Sword Stance plus Terra Blast. But once again, like you can run special Terra even. So it's still a really solid mon. It can kind of help take out a lot of like mons that or otherwise like wear down a lot of mons that Thundurus kind of struggles with breaking through. So with like Shaman kind of wearing it down, it can help Thundurus in the end game as well. I don't really think Shaman is much of a special breaker outside if I get really lucky with Seed Flare or my opponent is not running was it the Covert Cloak to block Seed Flare, or you know the other item, the was it Clear Amulet. So if they are running those two, which I have actually like I have drafted Shaman and run into a lot more people running those moves because of just the fact of like how it's so easily able to handle Shaman with like not having to worry about Spadef drops. But give Shaman knockoff, please. That is my next request. And like solid ability, natural cure, I can come in like tank like a Toxic, tank a Thunder Wave, and then switch out and not, and then like cure the status. So like it's a status sponge. Shaman is like in the same sort of vein that Magic Guard Clefable is. So I feel like with Shaman I can feel more willing to run Unaware Clefable. So overall, just like Shaman's very helpful in just like opening up different options for the rest of my team. Next we have my final Terra Captain, being Chandelure. Unfortunately, I can't Mega Evolve Chandelure, so it's still going to be regular Chandelure. Still, like, access to Flash Fire is really helpful. It gives me yet another immunity, so I have both Volt Absorb and Flash Fire on this team now. Now all I need is Storm Drain or Water Absorb, and I can have the Trifecta, but spoiler alert, I do not have those. So I've recently taken Chandelure like on a low tier draft, and if able, it can just kind of blow through so many teams. There's been like with the power creep kind of getting rid of here in Gen 9, it gets rid of like a lot of the faster mons. So Chandelure having base 80 speed isn't exactly as awful now. It's still kind of bad, but it's not as awful now. And you can still run like Choice Scarf. Since it's like a Terramon, I could just like I can run like Terra Fire, Terra Ghost to like even boost them even more. I can run Terra Grass to like boost Energy Ball and take on its original weaknesses. I can run something like Terra Fairy with Terra Blast, and or just like being like Terra Fairy is like a nuisance to like take on dark types even. So it's like access to like just super high special attack. It works in a similar vein that Mamoswine works as a physical breaker. Chandelure can work as a special breaker, and once again like help out Thunderous T in the back for sweeping later on, or like Roaring Moon as well. And like also its typing is really nice to pair with Roaring Moon, as Roaring Moon does not like Fairy or Dart or fighting, and Chandelure can handle both of those. Chandelure does not like water or dark, and a Roaring Moon can handle both of those as long as Roaring Moon doesn't get skulled during the course. But outside of that, it's just such a good Pokemon. Run like Hex with the T-Spike support from Quillfish. You run Flame Charge. I've not really liked running Flame Charge Chandelure because it's so awkward to like kind of get it going, especially versus like, okay, let me go into my Chandelure check, and okay, let me click Flame Charge on your Chandelure check, and now I have to switch out because my Chandelure doesn't beat this type of thing. So it's like, if you're facing an opponent that doesn't really have a good Chandelure check, I guess you can run something like Flame Charge or Trailblaze versus them. The fact that it has both is just funny in my opinion, but I think like you run like Flame Charge most of the time outside like very niche circumstances of like where you're facing like a Flash Fire Pokemon, then like, well, I can't get a Flame Charge off, let me click Trailblaze instead. But yeah. With all that said, hits really hard, has access to like Calm Mind. Give it Nasty Plot, please. Will-O-Wisp, of course. And like Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Heat Wave, Shadow Ball, Hex, Dark Pulse, Energy Ball, you know, the good old classic ghost types. And finally, for our last Pokemon, I decided to finally get a spinner. So originally, I was looking at the spinners, and I really was like, I think it would be funny to get Hisuian Avalugg. Because I think Hisuian Avalugg is such a good Terra Pokemon. The biggest issue with Hisuian Avalugg, though, is his special defense is so pitiful, and its speed is so bad that, like, it can, like, just get absolutely destroyed by any special attack. And it's just so slow that, like, I don't know if I could guarantee getting a spin-off before dying. So I was like, okay, let me get, like, a more guaranteed spinner. So I ended up taking Hitmontop. It has two great abilities in both Intimidate and Technician. Steadfast is very niche. I don't know if I would ever use it outside of like facing like a fake out lead, but with both like Intimidate, I can have like the double Intimidate core with Quillfish to really help versus physical attackers, or you know, Technician, I can like be more of a threat because Hitmontop's not really that big of a threat without Technician. Access to Baton Pass without like boosting moves, so it's like another pivot. So like I have every single one of my Pokemon can pivot except 4 or 3 if you count Healing Wish as a pivot move. And it's like, once again, it's just here practically to spin most of the time. I can be a little bit cheesy with it if I want to like run like a Technician set with like Bullet Punch, Mach Punch. It has access to a lot of like good priority. Upper Hand even it has access to if I want to like, okay, it doesn't have, okay, as I said, like I know it does because I know Tyro gets it. So if I want to like cheese like other priority, but at the same time I don't know if I would ever do that, because once again I wish Upper Hand had like +4 priority just so it could take on fake out users, but since it's +3 you have to be faster than the fake out user in order for it to work, and I just don't like that. So Pokemon, please give Upper Hand +4 priority to make it actually useful. But like access to like Vacuum Wave, Triple Axle, Close Combat, Earthquake, and so like it has so many good Ice Spinner even. It has like so many good like physical moves. The only issue is its physical attack is 95, so it's not great. You kind of need Technician for it to like be a huge threat, but outside of that, is like it's definitely mostly here to just like kind of spin on my opponent. The only big issue is like it does not really do well versus ghost types. It doesn't have Isis knockoff. It's ghost way to hit ghost types is Sucker Punch, which I just find funny that it's more priority. Like, I just love that the Hitmons just get almost every single priority in the game practically. Now give it Grassy Glide, that'll be even funnier. But yeah, it's like Hitmontop, double Intimidate. It kind of just rounds out the team rather well. I'm kind of want like a fighting type just so I can like take on rock types a little bit better. As you can see, I don't really have a rock switch in. Like Edgequake kind of destroys me. Like my rock switch in is Jirachi, but Jirachi does not like Earthquake. So like having Hitmontop as like the Edgequake switch in as well is helpful enough. So if I ever run into like a strong rock Pokemon, I can at least handle them better with Hitmontop. So yeah. Overall, that is the team. Let me add Hitmontop here. And so I'm excited to use this team. It's very like it's more my style than I've like drafted in the past, I believe. Because it's very just like hard hitting, as well as like a good defensive backbone to like in order to like take on some Pokemon that like I'm not able to just break through overall. So it's like it feels very hyper offensive oriented, just because like hazard stacks plus breaking and like sweeping. So but it can at least I can also just like switch around and run like more of like a balanced offense using Roaring Moon's bulk, Jirachi's bulk, Clefable, like Quillfish, and then just using Thundy T just to like break through. Same thing with like Mamoswine as well. So it definitely has like different modes I can use. Stall is not one of those modes. I'm not running Stall. I don't think I've ever run Stall successfully. So, but yeah, I'm very excited. I think this like does seem like something fun to use. So I'm very much looking forward to this season. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for supporting me on this comeback, and I'll catch you all next time with week 1. Peace.